Hey, what's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast. Where before we get going, I first want to just say I'm sorry that I've been away for a little bit. It's been about almost a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, since we had a podcast. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that everything is opening up back here in California, or out here in California, I should say. If everything goes right by June 9th, everything will be wide open again, which I'm praying for that. In regards to what it means to us, more importantly, our merch companies and our DVD companies are back open, so we could actually retrieve our stock, which is great. So if you've ordered anything from us throughout the pandemic, it's all coming. The mailings will begin the first week of June, so hang tight. Also, there is an overrun of our DVD stock in which I'm releasing a 3-set of Sir No Face, Two-Face the Gray, and Phantom Rider, all on DVD. All 3 copies are autographed, all new artwork for the DVD covers. There's going to be 50 of those available, and that's it. As you guys know, we're moving away from DVDs completely. We're moving into the digital realm 100%, but we will always make a short run of DVDs for any title that I make. As I know, there are people like myself who still actually collect DVDs for titles that they really like. So there will be 50 of these autographed triplicate sets of Sir No Face, Two-Face the Gray, and Phantom Rider that are available to you, which the link is in the description below if you want that, which I'm super stoked about. Also, 74 minutes. I know everybody is waiting to hear, when is 74 minutes going to be out? I can tell you that it's going to be out in October on Halloween. Now, the reason I pushed it back to that point is now that Laura is back in school, I have retained my ability to edit. In case you guys didn't know, we have a small place here in Santa Monica, and Laura had to use pretty much half of our place to set up a video village to teach her school, which only left a few hours at night to edit. And at the same time, I had some issues with my edit bay, which have been resolved now, and I am now back into it, full speed, just charging ahead. And I want the time to set this up properly. I don't want to rush it out. 74 minutes is a film that pretty much covers 25 years of my life, and now that things are back open, it just seems like Halloween is the right time to push this out. That's when people are looking for spooky content, and this film feels like, yeah, it's gonna hit hard. It's gonna scare the hell out of people, and so I'm super stoked to let you guys know that 74 minutes will be coming out on Halloween. Anybody who has a pre-ordered DVD of that, you'll receive it in the mail. You don't got to do anything. It's just going to come right to you. We have all the records, so we're all good there. Having said that, there's going to be more announcements coming soon of some really, really cool stuff that's going on behind the scenes, but I want to release it as it makes sense, when things are a little bit closer. But the world is waking up, and that's the important thing. The ideas are flying. Finally, venues are starting to open up, so you can rest assured there's going to be more live shows coming. So yeah, it's an exciting time, and we're getting caught up and also charging, forward into the future. Speaking of the future, this UFO stuff just won't stop, and you guys have been messaging me nonstop about the predictions that have been made by Syfall, and I have been very aware of the fact that pretty much almost everything that he has predicted is playing out like he said. And I have heard from Syfall specifically about everything that's going on right now, and about the congressional meeting that is going to be coming up in June. Now, before I get to that, I want to take a step back, because I had a thought the other day, and I realized that I am emotionally connected to the idea that there are aliens out there. It's a fascinating thought, to think that we are at a time where aliens, could coexist amongst us, could be coming here, could soon, make themselves identifiable to the public. Or maybe we learn that a theory I've long felt held some weight is true, the idea that potentially that the aliens have been here for a while, and they exist in underwater bases which there's a lot of evidence to suggest that. But I'm also, I've said this many times, I say this at, my live events as well, regardless of how, romantic my mind gets in the world of possibilities, I am still fundamentally a proof first person. Like, had I never seen a ghost with my own two eyes, although I would have probably believed or thought that it was possible that they could exist, without having seen it firsthand, I could have never fully believed it. And I've always said that in my events too, where I do the presentations, that I'm not here to convince you that ghosts are real. I'm here to show you what convinced me. And there's a dramatic difference, obviously, between the two. Because I understand when people say, listen, unless I see it, I can't believe it. Especially when it comes to the alien narrative, The idea that there is life in the universe that has been to this planet, and that they're potentially here right now, or that they will soon be making themselves, known, that is an incredibly powerful thought. It's an incredibly powerful thought. And I just realized the other day how badly I wanted that to be true. And it almost freaked me out because I'm like, man, do I want this to be true? So much that I'm like, looking for reasons to make it true, basically. Confirmation bias, right? Is that what's going on with me? Because if I step back and look at it, all the information that's coming out right now is all coming from the government. But there's no more reason that we should believe it from the government than we should from the average person who filmed something and that made its way onto the news. At the end of the day, the government has more reason to, control a narrative. And what I mean by control a narrative is lie, right? They have more reason to control the narrative because that affects how we live our lives. So if you look at all the footage that's come out, it's arguably some of the worst UFO footage that's out there. Like, the first 3 videos that Tom DeLonge released, I've said this before, rather lacking, it's hard to even tell what's going on, and there's certainly nothing that we see on video that defies the imagination. It all comes in the context of, like, David Fravor's, his eyewitness account, and the people who witnessed these things happening. That's what's fascinating. But we're not seeing that on film. We're not. The triangle pyramid thing that was floating around the boat, better footage, probably the best out of all the footage that's come out. But again, it looks like a balloon of a triangle that's floating. There's nothing about that, to me, that seems so mind-blowing, But again, what makes it mind-blowing is that there are reports from Navy personnel who say it did things that we've never seen before. We tracked it moving in a certain way. It was super fast. It knew where we were going. There was no measure of propulsion. And I guess the reason I'm bringing all this up is, what if there was nothing about this that was alien? What if everything that's being recorded and being released is in fact just, at the very best, the government testing things? The military testing things and saying, hey, we want to see how our soldiers react to this thing. And they put it out there. Because there's a big narrative that is what is going on. And that the reason our government is doing this now is because they're going to want to dump a bunch of money into the Space Force. So the best way to do that is to get the public interested, and especially if they can get the public scared that something's coming that can hurt us. Then the public's going to want those tax dollars going into the Space Force. There's a big narrative that is out there right now that is claiming that is what is going on. So what if that's the case? What if we are alone? I mean, doesn't that seem crazy that throughout the universe, and you tell me, literally, in the comments, leave me your thoughts. I am really interested to see what you guys think. But doesn't it just seem impossible that we could be the only life in the universe? I mean, doesn't that seem just crazy? That seems crazy to me. The idea that there could be an iteration of life that began, 1 billion years before us, and they have technology that we can't even fathom, to the degree that they could monitor us and visit us completely, without us knowing that they are, basically is what I'm saying. That just seems so likely to me, because when I think of not only what fascinates me and what gets me excited about the idea that there's life somewhere else, it's not only that there's life somewhere else, but the idea that, like I said, it could have existed 1 billion years before us, and imagine what it could do with science and technology versus what we have. I mean, if we went back to the days of like the Neanderthals, right? And you might have heard this analogy before, and we just tossed them a smartphone, they wouldn't even know that it was advanced, because they wouldn't even know what to do with it. Like, they wouldn't have any idea. But if you put, if you handed a Neanderthal a phone, on the other side of the world, you handed a Neanderthal a phone, you connected them on a call, I mean, he would probably think there was a devil coming out of the phone or something, right? It's just, for us to recognize and communicate with another species, of life throughout the universe, they would have to kind of know where we were technologically to know how we could detect them and how we could speak to them. Because no one really talks about that, right? Like, people often say, if aliens could reach us, they're so far beyond us as far as technology goes. And I would agree with that. But they would have to know where we were. They would have to understand where mankind was. And that's an ever-changing thing. If you look at what we had as far as technology goes, 500 years ago compared to now, I mean, it's a new world, right? So we're rapidly advancing and changing. And keep in mind that our technology is actually much further along than what we know, right? Because the government doesn't share with us what they're doing. Recently, they released that footage of you guys seen this? The laser that has been developed? This laser weapon we have that you can't see. You can't visually see the laser, but it could shoot drones and planes out of the sky. It obviously fires at light speed. I mean, it's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And I'm like, well, if they've developed that, then, have they developed this technology that, we're seeing in these videos? Or I guess we're not seeing in these videos, but what they're telling us is happening? I mean, like I said, there's so many open questions that haven't been answered. If something can travel from 80,000 feet to, sea level in 1 second, there are so many questions about that. And, yes, we should want to know the answers. But I was just thinking how bummed out I would be, if we are the only life in the universe. And that's possible. I guess that's possible. Or it's very possible that there is life elsewhere in the universe, but it's just they've never found us. And we certainly haven't found them. I mean, we've only sent probes out through space a very limited distance. It's just, the whole thing is mind-blowing to me. And I have like fundamental questions, man. Why can't I get a phone signal from an airplane, but we can send, wireless... Whoa! The motorcycles are out at the beach today, everybody. Why can we send wireless communication that can remote control a helicopter on Mars? How is that possible? I can't get my remote control for my TV to work through a wall. But we could control things from Mars, remote control. I don't know. I guess what I came down to is I want to always require the facts to fully believe, but I just think the world is better with a healthy imagination, and I should want these things to be real. I almost equate aliens to, like, God, like, I don't know that they exist, but there's so much there's so many signs and so many things that I've seen that make me believe that's the case. It just, the world's a better place with it than without it, I think. And I'm kind of bummed out by a conversation that I had with Skyfall about this upcoming June thing. Now, it wasn't that in depth, and I wish to God I could get on the phone with him one day. And he wants me to come to Australia to meet him, which that is going to happen. I've decided I've got to go. I've got to go. How do I not in this lifetime? How do I not go and at least find out the mystery of Skyfall? But he basically said, well, I'll tell you one question I did ask him. I said, listen, do you have any reason to believe that for sure that aliens exist? And he said, I have not seen footage of aliens. But he did say there are 2 pieces of footage that are going to be coming out. This is a prediction of his. One is going to show a craft fly through a solid surface. That's mind-blowing. We've seen the one go down into the water, and it seems like there's no resistance, and it comes up and it splits into 2. But he said there's going to be footage of a craft flying through a solid surface. That is mind-blowing. And he said we're going to see also footage of a craft that is showing the ability to cloak itself completely, just like in the movies, where you can just see through it, and then in Star Trek, then suddenly it appears, and then it's gone again, but it's still there, but it's cloaked. And, I said to him, do you believe that there are aliens in existence? And he said, I do. And I said, what is your reasoning, for that? And he said that he has seen documents back and forth from high-ranking officials talking directly about it. Now, those documents could be whatever, who knows? He's in the world of disinformation, and he said to me on a couple different correspondences that the most powerful weapon to use as far as a narrative goes is disinformation. And it is. Someone could come out tomorrow and develop the most amazing engine, for example, and go on YouTube and say, look, I have this engine that I could put it in a car, and on 2 drops of water it could drive 1,000 miles. All it would take is for 3 other videos to come out of people basically trolling that guy and saying that he's a hack, he's a kook, and they've known about his history, and he's always made fake claims like this and don't believe the hype. And that's it. That thing's done. No one will even go back to it. That's the world we live in, And, so could he have been reading disinformation? Sure, it's a possibility. But he is saying there are 2 pieces of footage coming out. One is going to show a craft flying through a hard surface, and one is going to show a craft cloaking itself. He does believe that the technology is technology that was, back engineered. He also said that this thing coming up in Congress is going to be 100% designed to make the public fear that at any moment, whoever is behind these crafts could absolutely pose a massive threat to us, that it's going to be one big, military kind of wake-up call, and it's going to be put out there in the public to basically say there's been a massive security breach and we're not safe. And that's what it's going to be about, which is kind of a bummer, man, because, not that I didn't know this, in one way, it's kind of like the only way that you can get the attention, I guess, of Congress is to basically say, it's a threat. Which, listen, if the technology is what it is and it's truly not ours or anybody else's, is it a threat? Sure, potentially, sure. But I guess my question would be, well, if it's a threat, why hasn't it been to this point? Meaning, to this point, has it ever harmed us? Have any of these things that we've filmed, have they ever harmed us? Because if they haven't, we have to ask the question, why? We have to ask the question, why? And I put that question to Skyfall as well. And he came back and he said, during my time working for the unacknowledged disinformation company, the intelligence organization that he worked for, he said there was nothing I saw that would make me believe, that we were under some kind of threat from an alien race. He said, I saw plenty to make me believe that, they were real, but I never saw aliens, right? He said, I never saw any footage of an alien. So he can't, basically say, yes, there's aliens coming. But he does believe, and this just freaked me out when I was reading this, he does believe that this fake alien invasion has already begun. And it's going to happen in steps. It's just like when they shut down like LA. They first came out, like when the pandemic hit, it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. We're going to be fine. And then suddenly, oh no, it's getting pretty serious. So we're going to, shut down these places in the city. But we know you still need to ride buses. You still need to do this. You still need to do that. And the next day they shut down more places. And pretty soon it's stay home. Pretty soon it's the freeway systems are closed. Like, it was all like an escalating order of events. And, basically, when I say basically in a nutshell, because I'm paraphrasing, Skyfall has a tendency to get somewhat long-winded at times. But he's essentially saying that it's going to happen in stages. And that's what we've seen so far. It started out with, these videos from Tom DeLonge, and it's just been escalating and escalating and escalating and escalating. And he said, this is all part of the process. It was never going to be just kaboom, look in the sky. There are, Project Bluebeam UFOs, and look on the ground. There's footage of little gray or no-face aliens. Like, he said, it's never going to be just like a bomb drops on you. They're going to install this and bring it in, like, at levels that take baby steps so they can control the situation. This is what he is saying. Now, if I take a step back and look at that, does it seem like that is what has been happening? God, I wish it didn't. I wish it didn't seem like that is what is going on. But come hell or high water, nothing is stopping this UFO narrative. The pandemic has not stopped this UFO narrative. Throughout the pandemic, throughout, all the stuff with Trump's presidency and Biden and all that, and, the one consistent thing throughout the last 2 years has been the UFO narrative, no matter what. No matter what. So why? I'll be honest with you guys, I can't, until a fake alien invasion happens, I can't fully wrap my mind around it. I understand the reason for it. As far as in theory. It was summed up when, after the first 3 videos were released by Tom DeLonge, he releases this, tweet pretty much asking us all if we would be down for a one world order and trying to sell us on it by saying, isn't it time where we all kind of embrace our brothers around the world? And he's like, look, if we only had one world government and one military, we could save $17 trillion and put it into school systems and all this stuff. And I was like, what is going on? And he got eaten alive, and he took that tweet down. But it was just so weird that he went right to it right away. And we've seen this, man. We've seen this since the beginning of time. Almost every great world leader has wanted to rule the world, under one government, and the idea that now, Reagan, summed it all up when he said, sometimes I'd like to think that the only way we put our differences aside is if we were under some great threat from an alien presence. Well, if there is no great threat from an alien presence, manufacture one. Our government's done that before, right? Another enemy with no face or name. The war on drugs, the war on terror. Now it's potential aliens and crafts, and we don't know who runs this ship or who owns it. We don't know, but they're an enemy. If there is an alien race out there, man, and they're going to reveal themselves, I would hope that they would be intelligent enough to do it in a way that could, kind of, I guess, let everybody know that they're not dangerous. If they're not, you know? And I have to go that way. I have to want to believe that they're not dangerous, because if they are, we're all fucked. Okay? If they are, our government just told us these things are coming in and out of our airspace with impunity, doing whatever they want with technology that far exceeds anything that we can do by at least 1,000 years, they said. So we better pray. We had better pray that they, if they exist, and if they are going to make themselves known, we had better pray that they are friendly. Because even though I can't wrap my mind around this idea or belief that there is a fake alien invasion coming, I can't deny that there's countless signs that are pointing towards that happening. And Skyfall's accuracy has been uncanny. Uncanny. So let's keep our eyes open as this footage comes out, and as this June rolls in, I'll be watching all this stuff with you guys, and you can you can rest assured that after the June presentation, I will be talking to Syfall again to basically get his thoughts on what's going on as well too. Thank you, my friends, for listening to the In a Crowded Room podcast. As always, leave me your thoughts and ideas down below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with more. All the best.